Everybody. Thank you so much for being present this morning for another edition of the Broad Exchange. We're going to go ahead and open up with prayer. Let us pray. God, we thank you so much for being the amazing God that you are. God, we love you and appreciate you because we have what we have because of your grace, because of your mercy, because of your favor. God, we pray that the information shared today will be informative, will inspire people to make crucial decisions that will help benefit their lives and the lives of others. And God, we just thank you for an opportunity to be able to share in a safe space what's going on in this country and this world and be able to find, hopefully, some sense of understanding and resolution, God. It's in your name that we say thank you and we pray amen. All right. So today, first, I have help today in the form of Miss Kiana Moore. Y'all give her a hand. So I sent her an outline of just some ideas of what I thought would be important to talk, and she sent it back to me, y'all, with, like, she edited that thing so well. I'm like, oh, we got a good one here. So I'm really excited that she's working on the team, and she's going to be presenting alongside me today. Today, we're going to be talking about the One Big Beautiful Now Act, not bill anymore. You may not know, or you may have heard little bits and pieces about it, but essentially this is the big tax cut primarily act that was signed into law on July 1st by Mr. Trump. I was almost going to say President Trump. I can't bring myself to say it. By Mr. Trump, again on July 4th, and I'm gonna start by sharing little bits and pieces about it. Kiana's gonna come behind me, and she's gonna talk about specific impact that it's going to have, things that we can do in the wake of this act. And of course, at the end, we're going to, tie it back to Scripture, and I'm actually going to go ahead and give it to you now. It's the same Scripture from actually the last time we met because it's still very much so relevant. It's Titus 3, 1 through 11. And we have sub-scriptures. I'll give you a minute to find it. But again, the first one, Titus 3, 1 through 11. And then sub-scriptures, Micah 6 and 8. Second one, Isaiah 1 and 17. So again, the first, Titus 3, 1 through 11. Titus 3, 1 through 11. The second, or the sub-scriptures, Micah 6 and 8. And then the second sub-scripture is Isaiah 1, 17. I surely can. Titus 3, 1 through 11. I get no problem restating Scripture now. I want to make sure you got it. Titus 3, 1 through 11, Micah 6 and 8, Isaiah 1 and 17. All right? So let's talk about the One Big Beautiful Act. Well, let's talk about first the name. As it's quite big, but would I say it's beautiful? No. Hardly that. So primary, impact or primary accommodation that it has is tax cuts. And when you think about tax cuts, of course, you get really excited because that means, wait, there's more money in my pocket. But when you think about kind of the plan for tax cuts, there are a lot of caveats inside of this act. And by caveats, I mean a lot of conditions, a lot of if this, if that type of deal. One of the things, the first thing that comes to mind is to talk about tax incentives. So for those of us who have children, there's an increase of $200. So instead of $2,000 per child, it's $2,200 per child. And while that's great for people who have children, not even being shaded to anyone who has children who qualify, there are a lot of people who have adult children who won't get that. And you have people who just don't have kids at all. And so that impacts a particular group of people. So that's what I mean by caveat. It fits this group of people. And then when you look at, I wish I had written down the percentages, but when you look at the percentages for tax cuts, particularly per tax bracket, the more you make, obviously, the bigger the cut you're going to get. I think the highest number I saw was a 22% tax cut, you obviously have to be making 6 or 7 figures to even qualify for that. And the percentage gets smaller as your tax bracket goes down. So the less you make, the smaller the cut is going to be. So in reality, while you're thinking, hey, I'm getting money back, comparatively, you're not getting a lot back. And I know the idea is to, promote tax cuts because in the end we want to increase spending, and more money in your pockets means we're, spending more, keeping the economy going. But if you don't have that much more money in your pocket, how much more can you spend, right? And then when you think about that matched with what you're looking at with inflation and things going up, like, sure, I'm getting more money back, but is it enough to match what inflation is doing out here in the economy? So that's something to think about. Again, I'm not going to say tax cuts are a bad thing. I'm going to say that it's a bad thing when it's disproportionately impacting people and everyone's not getting what is a reasonable cut for what they make and what they spend. So I'll say that there. It's looking like about $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, actually. When you think about that big number and you look at it in the form of a pie, and you imagine the little slither that you're probably going to get from that pie, it will be quite upsetting, to be honest. And I do understand that. I can understand you could be frustrated about it. Another thing to think about when you're talking about tax cuts, another caveat or another piece of it is no taxing on tips, right? A good thing, because a lot of people out here work for tips and they need their tips, and I understand why you don't want to tax somebody who's making tips, that kind of thing. I work a salary job, though. I don't get tips. So then that's another thing you have to think about. While, yes, it's beneficial for some, it's one of those things where it still doesn't do enough. Let me say that, because, again, it's not bad. But it's still not doing enough to make sure everyone's getting what they need. The other piece is, if I'm working for tips, you're not taxing my tips, but I'm still working in a tax bracket that's not high enough to get enough percentage back, I'm still not making back the money that I need to be able to, again, combat what inflation is doing. So, again, it's a good thing, but it's not great for the people who are going to be impacted the most financially, and that's people who are low-income individuals. There are also going to be, no, that's a different subject. So that's tax cuts. Any questions about tax cuts? No questions about tax cuts? Okay, cool beans. So the next piece, accommodations for border spending and deportations. So we're looking at $350 billion to actually improve or build the Mexican-U.S. border. He's making do on this promise to build the wall, and it's a $350 billion ordeal. Not only that, $100,000 being allocated for migrant detention facilities, so places to hold immigrants that they capture and detain. And there's also $1 billion allocation for general border security. So people who stand out and watch and make sure no one's coming over illegally. To circle back to tax cuts. No, let's not circle back to tax cuts. Let's jump forward, actually, to this part right here, spending cuts. That's the one I want to jump to. Now, in order to be able to afford a $350 billion wall, millions of dollars toward border security and other military spending things that they want to do. The money has to come from somewhere, right? And not surprising, it's coming from the people in the form of spending cuts. So you probably have already heard about things like Job Corps, that program being nexted out, right? So that's a spending cut. If I don't have Job Corps, I don't have to put money towards it, cut it, that's more money in our pockets to spend in other places. I'm pretty sure you also heard about modifications to SNAP recipients, right? A lot of red tape associated with qualifying for SNAP benefits, including an 80-hour, let me get this right, 80-hour work requirement for SNAP, and I think it's also for Medicaid as well. Right? So having to work at least 80 hours a month, so about 20 hours a week, in order to qualify or to keep Medicaid, to keep your stamps. Now, that's problematic because a lot of people on Medicaid are of age and have what? Retired. The whole point of this was for me to, I've worked enough all these years. I've done all I could do. I'm trying to enjoy my former years and trying not to have to work. And here we are, there's a requirement that I have to work a 20-hour-a-week situation just to keep my Medicaid. And the same thing for stamps also. And again, when you think about that, you have people that they are legitimately receiving aid because of disabilities and things like that. Again, if I'm disabled and I have a serious issue that says I cannot work, how is it possible that I work to keep the benefits that I have in place because I cannot work or I cannot do certain types of jobs? Yeah, do you have a question?
Just a question about, so my understanding was that the Medicaid cuts weren't for the seniors who had paid in, because they had paid into the plan. I'm just trying to make sure, and that it was really about able, what they're trying to figure out who's able-bodied.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So that he didn't want to mess with the seniors because they're a voting bloc. So that seems like to be what I understand, and maybe not the Medicaid, maybe the Medicare.
That might be Medicare. What I read about Medicaid was correction.
Okay.
Up to 65, right.
Okay.
65 up, you're good.
No. Okay.
Well, 66 up, you're good. Anything below that, questionable. Thank you. So that's the cap, yes, for the age requirement for Medicaid. So when you talk about also the rollbacks or the cutbacks with SNAP, you also have to think about how for families that were benefiting from SNAP, the kids would typically automatically be enrolled in the free lunch program at school. Not anymore. No automatic enrollment. You will have to obviously apply to get the free lunch. Now, I don't want to say this. I'm saying all this not to send you into panic or shock, even though it's quite shocking. We're giving you this information because we want you to, again, start thinking about what it is, what steps you need to take to start making sure that you have the things that you need. So don't go into panic, because if you panic, you're not going to be thinking clearly. If you're not thinking clearly, you're not going to be able to make the best decision for you and your family. So don't go into shock mode. I need you to go into calculating mode. What do I need to do to make sure that my people have the things that they need, all right? So again, it impacts automatic enrollment into the free lunch program. There's another piece to this bill, thinking about the school, where we talked about this before with vouchers for private schools. It is possible that Tennessee may adopt that particular policy. They're not required to. No state is required to. But I've lived in Tennessee all my life, except for my college years, and if I know anything about Tennessee, my God, today. They favor the wealthy very much so. And so if you can remember with the voucher, you get so much money from the government that you can use to spend on private school. The problem with that is anybody can get it, including people who make enough money to pay for their kids to go to private school on their own. And so for people who don't make enough, it's possible that if they don't get in on it fast enough, they're not going to be able to get a voucher to help send their kids to private schools. The other piece to that is if we adopt that policy and we start taking money, using vouchers and sending our kids to private schools, what do you think happens to the public ones? So what happens is they start to lose funding, and so you end up being in a situation where your kid's going to public school while others are going to private. It's highly possible that your kid's going to be going to a public school that's not receiving the funding that it needs, which means the type of education, quality of education is impacted. Now, I can spin this two ways. I can say, talk to your elected officials and tell them, no, we don't want this voucher situation. Or I could tell you, baby, stay on top of winning if it does roll out so you can get in line and get your voucher so you can send your child to a private school to guarantee that they get what they need. Now, the latter part of that is really selfish. But hey, it's the option that you have. I do encourage you seriously not to think like that. Honestly, we're in a time where black folks really got to start thinking about everybody in the community. And while I understand that we all have different needs that we want to have met, I would encourage you to start thinking big picture. What can we do, not just what can I do, to make sure that everybody's getting what they can get with that. So that's another thing to think about. Let's see here. Significant cuts for higher education. So if you have college-age students, that's going to be another thing to look at. One of the things I saw as I was looking for information, students receiving a full ride don't qualify for Pell Grant. They don't get that. So school, and here's the thing, and what I saw as full ride, there was no clarification really about what full ride means. So I'll use myself as an example. When I went to undergraduate, I received money for tuition. My tuition was covered all 4 years. Some people will consider that a full ride. And I understand why you would consider that, because tuition, of course, is the biggest piece of it. But I still needed a place to live. I still needed food to eat. And so I still had to take out loan money to pay for the books and the things like that. And so in either way, whatever full ride means, if your kid is considered a kid receiving full ride to college, they may not qualify for Pell Grant, which means, of course, they're going to have to take out more loan money. But another piece to that is there's new loan limits. So there's going to be a cap for how much money a kid can get, a cap for how much parents can borrow, which means where's the rest of the money going to come from to send my kid to college? Something to think about. Now, here's a little loophole I think that I actually like and I think might work. And I know a lot of people might, if you're a traditional 4-year type of person, you may not look at this in the way that I see it. But another piece to think about is start encouraging your kids before they go to 4-year to consider 2-year, especially in Tennessee. I don't think this impacts Tennessee Promise in a major way. I haven't seen any literature that says that it does. And the reason I bring that up is, a kid that is born and raised in Tennessee or is a Tennessee resident can go to school for essentially free with Tennessee Promise. And so what happens is you send them to a 2-year institution that will have a lot of their credits to transfer over to a 4-year when they're done. That way they're spending less time in a 4-year, which means less money in a 4-year, which means you may not have to take out as much. So something to think about with that. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, come on.
Good morning. I did want to add with Tennessee Promise, at least when I was in school, I haven't seen anything that says it changes. Your ACT score does have to be a 21 or above to get that scholarship. So if you are thinking about that for your children, make sure that they're doing their ACT prep, that they're getting ready, because they have to have the scores to get the money.
See, I ain't been in college so long, I didn't even know. Right, and of course GPA, yeah, of course. It just means we're gonna push our kids to study a little more harder so they can get the things that they need out of school. Another thing to think about too, because I'm not a person that only promotes 4-year colleges or 2-year associate's degrees. Let these kids go to vocational school if that's their if that's their wish. I remember being in high school and thinking, man, if I had just gone to vocational school, it wouldn't have cost me nothing. I would be working well, starting early. I might have a pretty penny saved up. So there's an option too. And I think that honestly, in the direction that things are going, it's probably the least expensive option. And as we all know, working with the trade, you can make some really good money depending on the trade. And so then you're encouraging your kids to actually go and make good money that might help them fight the next however many years we got going with this policy and how it's going to play out. So an option there, a tangent there, actually. Yes.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No.
That also is free too.
Yeah.
They can get 2 years of that trade for free. And right now they are saying with AI coming,
Mm-hmm.
that actually going back to trade is actually the way for you to be able to for people to have stable income.
Yeah. You listen. at any given moment, you might see me out there somewhere toting something or carrying something. The therapy ain't working. I'm not going to be a therapist no more. I'm going to be in the trade industry. Seriously, I actually thought about when I hit retirement age, I'm going to have to stay fit somehow because I might have to go out and do a little work. Yes, ma'am.
So the city of Memphis do educate our students, our children, for a trade in the public school system.
Oh, good. They do. Are you asking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were being an expert. You said it so confidently. I thought you were making a statement and not asking a question. Okay.
Saying that because back when I was growing up, they taught trade.
Gotcha. Do we have someone who could speak on that? And feel free to grab a mic too. Do we have anyone that works in the schools? Can you?
There are CTE programs that address that need, and I was just showing the young lady sitting next to me. It says in the next 3 years, the United States will need 550,000 plumbers, 410,000 welders, and 100,000 HVC techs. So
that's in place now.
we do. There are CTE programs that children can go and come out of school. Sometimes I think with paramedics licenses, and so they have to elect that track. The track.
So it's not, they're getting this early on to into a program where they're gonna get the skill, and when they graduate, it'll give them a heads up on the market. That's what I'm asking.
Yes, that is available.
Okay.
I don't know how widespread it is because it
Okay.
used to be big. It kind of goes in and out of style
Yeah.
in the school system. Sometimes we're all the way, everybody goes to a 4-year college, and then it'll flip back to, every day, every child college bound. Yeah, and then sometimes it'll flip back to CTE. But there are CTE programs. I think there's one.
Kingsbury. Yeah.
There's one. Is
So that's a
Yeah, they have
local example. Kingsbury, they do have a VOTEC school. I've actually in Tresvent. I've actually subbed there. All of their classes, and they take people from other schools. They bring them in, and they have all different types of trades that the kids can work on, so that they have a head start.
I can't hear you.
They're trying to get it back into Hamilton High School. They're trying.
Yeah.
It's not in all schools, so you have to check on that. But it's in all schools.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's CTE program. CTE is what she said. Currently at Tresvent, currently at Kingsbury, and God willing at Hamilton, because that means we'll spread it out across the city and not have it, located in only specific areas. Yes, ma'am.
And Chris, you all
Pull that
might,
mic up for me a little
you
bit.
might want to stop at, check Carver High School out, because those children over there is something else. A group that I'm with, we even give them like a little card, get them something or whatever. We used to take clothes over there, but the principal told us, no more clothes. We're having a problem with that. So you might want to check Carver. As a matter of fact, your pastor graduated from Carver
Yeah.
High School. Dennis Murphy, Joyce, what's Joyce's last name? Critton. I did. And one of the, one of the deacons, kind of heavy lady.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know who I'm talking about, but a lot of us are Carver graduates.
Are you saying to kind of tap the kids over there to get them resources, or do they have a resource over there?
They have the resources in the classes over there.
Okay.
Well, Floyd visits there every month,
Okay.
and I have been there with him as well. And we get a little card away that they can get something to encourage them.
Okay. Okay. That is good. That's good. And honestly, when you talk about kind of how you can be an impact also, volunteering time and some of your money to help these kids, not just be academically or trade-wise, on the up and up, but also being informed about politics and how the nature of politics in America goes. We hear a lot of times, the cliche saying the children are our future, but it's very much so the case. And if you're not doing due diligence to educate kids on what to expect when they become of voting age, of adult age, and things like that, then you're really doing, yourself, your community a disservice, because those are going to be future voters one day. There are going to be, people making decisions. I remember being told when I was a child, you are my future, and the decisions you make will impact me when I'm in my older age, and I see and I understand that. So making sure that you're, keeping your kids, their friends, your friends, all of them, keeping them informed so that they can be ready to make better decisions than even we did when they get older. The last piece I'm going to speak on, and I'm going to step to the side to let Kiana come up, is clean energy. The reason I think that's important for us to talk about is, we actually have a clean energy issue going on in Memphis and I think the Boxtown area right now in the form of the XAI plant. So I actually had an opportunity to go to a town hall meeting earlier this year. I think it was around the time we were having Broadfest, actually. Fun time, by the way, just a little plug. Anyway, I went to a town hall that day, and come to find out, what we thought was something that was on the way is actually already here, and has been here since September of last year. And what has happened is more turbines than what was written to be constructed and used have been built and are in use. The turbines are polluting the air with the off-put, the chemicals they're putting out into the air. It's polluting the air. And the reason why I looked at the clean energy piece of this is because what this is basically saying is the incentives that Biden had in place for people to basically operate from a clean energy perspective, polluting less, that kind of thing with their facilities and such, he's basically cutting that. No incentives. And so if you are an Elon Musk who's building a plant in Memphis and you're in South Haven, you have another facility that they're going to put $10, y'all. Bought the land for $10, by the way. Anyway, $10. I looked at several articles. I'm like, maybe they mean 10 billion. Maybe they mean 10,000. No, $10 in South Haven. So again, if you are an Elon Musk and there aren't any incentives to encourage you to build facilities and operate your facilities from a clean energy standpoint where you're not polluting the environment, then obviously you're not going to be inclined to do that. It's a money thing. And that piece of the act actually, I believe plays a big part in what we're dealing with here. It's my assumption. I'm not going to say it's fact. But I do believe that plays a big part in the situation we're dealing with XAI being here and the issues we're seeing with pollution in the Boxtown area. All that being said, and I'll step aside, it's very important, and she's going to say this again, I think it's in the notes. It's very important that when we get to midterm elections and subsequent elections, that we are doing due diligence to look at that person, those people's track records, what they've stood for, what they voted for, what they advocate for, what their platforms are about, and making sure that as we're voting for new members to go to the House, to go to the Senate, to be in our courts, et cetera, that we're making decisions to bring people in who are going to do what's in the best interest of the people and not themselves or a small group of people. All right? So I'm going to sit down and be quiet. Kiana, you can take it.
Thank you. Good morning again. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this is going to affect us as Black Americans specifically. Going back to a lot of the things that Chris Pete said, affecting our Medicaid and SNAP benefits, there is a significantly disproportionate amount of Black people who are on those types of programs and who rely on those type of programs to feed themselves, their families, their children. And obviously, when you look at things like this, big, beautiful, I say ugly, beautiful act, it affects us more than it affects other people. It seems very targeted and personal because it is. So Medicaid and SNAP are the biggest ones that I have a concern about for us as a people, because we're on it more than other people. Also, again, about the clean energy, it's very important because that affects health. There's a lot of research on how pollution definitely affects, what's going on the inside with us. So it is important that we know about things like XAI that are happening and are polluting our cities. Yes.
I just want to go back to you talking about the Medicaid cuts. It's not only going to affect people, the individuals that are on those programs, it's also going to affect providers.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because
They won't have the job to provide for those people, so it's going to be a trickle down effect. It won't be just that.
it is, and thank you for bringing it back up because it made me remember that the federal government is, pulling back. They're not going to fund it as much, so it is up to the states to keep it funded. And if it's up to the states to keep it funded, like Chris Pete was saying, we live in Tennessee. They favor the wealthy. So a lot of what we're going to be able to get, a lot of jobs, a lot of things are going to change because of it. So thank you for bringing it back up. Yes.
I want to piggyback on what she said. Medicaid it provides health care, but it also provides, thank you. Medicaid provides health care for the poor, but it also assists with long-term placement for the poor. For example, if you are caring for a loved one in the home and can no longer provide that care, to go into a nursing home, Medicare pays for the services. Medicaid pays for the room and board. That averages about $300 per day. So, with that being said, people will not be able to provide the necessary long-term care for their loved ones with these cuts coming.
Thank you. Here we go on. So let's talk about a little bit about what we can do to make sure that we're prepared, like Chris Pete said, for the things that are happening. First, we can stay informed and educate others. We're in meetings like this. We do the broad exchange because we want to make sure that our community is informed about what's going on and can make they can make decisions based on information that is accurate. And so it is important that what you learn here, you go and research yourselves. You get more information. And you share it as well. Because the more people that are educated about what's going on, the better we are as a community. Yes. Second, vote. Please vote. Please, please, please. Midterm elections, state elections. Those are the things, that's where these policies are decided, and they're coming up with these things. We have to be vigilant, and we have to go out and vote. Another thing we can do is contact our elected officials. I believe for Shelby County it's Steve Cohen. He's one of them. I've emailed him several times about issues that I thought we had in the city, and he is quick to respond back. So please stay in contact with your elected officials. That's what they're there for. We can bug them. They'll be okay. That's their jobs. A big thing is support Black businesses. We need to feed into ourselves because we can't rely on our government. We can't rely on our state to do it for us. So if you know about people in our community who have businesses, please support them and spread the word so that we can all support them. Because if we don't feed into ourselves, no one else is going to do it. Yes.
One more thing. I'm working on my mouth is so large. Oh,
work in the home health setting, and one of the biggest things that the seniors ask for is food. There's always a need for food, and with MIFA, Meals on Wheels being part of that program, it's being cut. There is a year-long waiting list for people on getting Meals on Wheels, and that's a necessary and needed resource. It used to be the turnaround time was 1 to 2 weeks, that if you got a referral sent in on your behalf, then they will call you back and respond to you within that timely manner. Well, now they're telling you you're on it for a year. So in other words, before you can get on the list, somebody has to die off. But they're not taking any new people. When COVID hit, it was a shortage of volunteers, and we don't volunteer, y'all. And we got to do better at that. We need to volunteer, one, and I think the pastor said it one Sunday about us giving more. I appreciate the program here. I refer people here all the time. You know, the biggest handicap for most people, though, is being able to have transportation to get here to pick it up. You know, they need somebody to pick it up for them, but I'm glad this resource is here. And Mississippi Boulevard is doing an awesome job they do monthly deliveries. You know, they're volunteers that take the food out, not to, you know, make them bigger than what we're doing. We're working. We're work in progress. But giving more to the food program is going to help us tremendously with helping our seniors who food stamp benefits are being cut.
Thank you so much, and she is so right. Any type of help we can get in that program, we'll definitely appreciate it, because we give out food boxes and things. On Monday, we have our food drives. So any help that you can give in that is very much appreciated. Lastly, community support. So we as a church are called to be a safety net for the people in our community. So we need to be able to identify those within our congregation and in our wider community that need help, that are going to be most impacted by these cuts, and we need to explore ways that we can support them. So whether it's the food drives that we've been talking about, resource sharing, or assistance in navigating the new requirements that are going to be up for SNAP and Medicaid and all of these different things, we as a church are responsible for making sure our community is okay. Any questions? Yes.
As a volunteer that helps on Monday, and I'll be locked back at work because school starts in August, you know what I mean? So the volunteers on Monday, we need a whole lot more. People that show up to come early, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, to unload the food, to weigh the food, to separate the food, to throw away the spoilage, and then to help navigate the people through so that they can be served. We have people who stand in line for hours just to get their food. They're so grateful, but we don't have enough volunteers. So if you could come out on, I think it's every Monday, unless Keenan say it's Tuesday, we need more volunteers. And I can't help when school starts because I'll be back at work, and we definitely need more volunteers.
Thank you. I'm going to hand it back to Chris Pete. Oh, no, I was going
No, I was going to say something else, but that's fine. So thank you for sharing that. So we talk about community support and things like that. So I want everybody in this room to start thinking bigger picture when you talk about your volunteerism. A lot of people, they say, if I give $1, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And you're right, because we want your money. It's going to help us do really big things for people. But if you have the ability to go beyond just donating $1, like if you legit have the ability, we encourage you to do so. And I'm not just making that as a plug for our food bank here, but in any capacity that you can go beyond just giving $1. That'll be really helpful. Two things, or one big thing that came to mind thinking about those two comments is if it's possible for you to load some food up and drive it to someone, make yourself available to do that. Make yourself known. I think a lot of times we expect people to come to us and tell us we have a need, but a lot of times we need you to go out and seek people who might have needs and let them know that you're available. So, and it's not just with the food bank, but in any capacity where you can offer up your time, your talent, your gifts to be available, please do so, because it's about strengthening our community, making sure that we get the things that we need in what I don't want to call perilous times ahead, but I'm going to just call it what I feel it may be, perilous times ahead. Yes, sir.
How many people, just raise your eyebrows, how many have family members that are incarcerated? Just raise your eyebrows. I mean, at this very moment, how many have people that are incarcerated? All right, let me say this much. I have 30 years of volunteerism as far as the prison ministry. You can believe it or not, we talk a lot about our criminals and our problems that we have in our justice system. But do you know how many people actually take a moment to go and to mentor and to, I know you're a heck of a Christian in the church, but when it comes to, I see nobody, because I may be put out the church, but there's nobody in First Baptist Broad other than myself does prison ministry. Okay, she has one. Okay, anybody else? Anybody? Okay, that's 2 people out of 6,000 people that do prison. That's volunteerism, to be honest, and I have enjoyed every bit of it. And doing 30 plus years, and I would be happy, tickled to death, if I would be one of the leaders, along with my minister friends, that would be able to open up a program where we can be mentors to people that are incarcerated. All they need is somebody to talk to tell you just what's going on in their life. I have met awesome people, and they're not dummies either. And you might think that you think they just caught up some situations. And I hope that anybody would be interested, hey, tap me on the shoulder. I'd be happy to, or even her, that tap me on the shoulder, and hey, we can start a prison ministry. We have all kinds of ministries here in the church, but we don't have a prison ministry. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And not every prisoner stays behind bars forever. They have to get out, right? If you're planting seeds via ministry to help prepare them for reentry into the community, the workforce, things like that, that's another opportunity for us to be strengthening our community so that we can be on the up and up. So I thank you for sharing that, Brother Rose.
I work at Promise Academy as the academic dean, and to his point, a lot of the children who wind up in prison have poor school experiences. Mm-hmm. And so we are seeking volunteers at Promise Academy so they don't have to wind up in prison. So I am on the prevention piece. He's on the intervention piece. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in intervention, we are also seeking teachers. We have 14 vacancies. Well, that's not true. We hired 6 people on the spot yesterday. So if you're interested,
we getting there. We getting there.
Yeah, because there's a teacher shortage.
Yeah.
And so kids are going to go back to school. Some kids have gone to school a whole entire school year and never had a teacher. They had subs all year. Mm-hmm. That is the state of education in this city. So if there's anyone interested in teaching, if you have a bachelor's degree, we can get you licensed. We have a program that we're sending teachers through. If you know someone who's interested in teaching, please call me.
What's your name and number?
Leandria Taylor. And I'm going to give it to you. 901-573-7954.
Come see
we
me.
need ELA teachers. We need math teachers. We also need volunteers to come in and support us to help our children become literate. I think in this city we may have like a 30% literacy rate. That is connected to crime. We're a K-5 school. Promise Academy is located on, So I think that's Raleigh Millington Road. It is Fraser Boulevard, but it switches.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested, know anybody who wants to teach, we are happy to work
Can you-
with them.
Can you come talk to me when we're done so I can get your information and maybe we can find a way to share it in mass? Okay. Yes. Were you raising your hand? Come on. Your choice. Your choice.
I wanted to go back to the education. I worked in the trade schools for about 19 years. And one of the things that we're mandated, because you can qualify for federal aid, but we had mandates that to help students once they finish to get employed. And when I went to the university, they had job fairs, but it wasn't anybody assigned to me to help me get a job. But we have percentages that we had to meet in order to keep that federal funding coming in. So trade schools, I had a whole different look when I wasn't able to start teaching on the university level. I said, let me go over here. And I would say 75 to 90% of my students were us, African Americans. But we're there to help them transition from finishing their education into working. And we know a lot of times in getting jobs is referrals, is who you know, is connecting to someone. And so I was always out connecting because I wanted our people to do better. So that's something that can help them to know that unless you're legacy or university level, you can still get federal funding in a lot of the trade schools.
Thank you for sharing. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hitting again on the education topic, another thing that we really need to do as a community is provide financial literacy courses for our children. I know that when I was younger, it would have been very nice to have a program in which I could learn how to do adult things like pay bills and learn how to budget my money early. Yes,
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
skills.
Yep.
And so I found out this summer that there is a program, Junior Achievement, that's across the street from us, that does do things like that. They teach kids, and it's a wonderful program. We took our summer camp kids there this summer, and they loved it, and they learned what it is that parents do, paying bills and all of that. Yeah, it was a joy to see them to see them in that kind of role. So it is something that to think about when we're thinking about educating our young people. They do literacy and everything like that is very, very important, but it's also important that we teach them life skills.
Yeah, I agree.
And to that point, we will have a class in September for our youth, so stay tuned.
Yay! Oh, that's good. That's good.
But stay tuned for the information.
Okay, so this is where you might want to try to start, because you do have a lot of parents that need to know how to read and write in order for them to teach their children. If the parent do not know, they can't teach their children. So we need to try to start helping the parents, boosting them up and getting them to where they need to be so they can help their children.
Yeah. Do we know of any adult programs in the city that offer that kind of support for adults? Anybody? Do you know what? Can you tell me what program it is by chance?
I really don't, but I just have a friend that I think that's what she works with. I can find out and get back with you.
Please,
Okay.
please. I know. I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna get to the scripture in a minute. I promise. What I love about this moment, I see. What I love about today is we've actually kicked into a space where we're starting to talk about resources now. We've done it a little bit in the past, but I just love it. I'm excited. We're starting to talk about resources. We're starting to highlight specific needs, and I think that that's what this has always been about. So I just want to plug, keep coming, keep sharing, keep talking, because if we don't know what the community needs, we won't know how to meet that need. So thank you for sharing all these different things. And yes, back to my right.
Yes, the Memphis Lift is, okay, It's located in North Memphis. Sarah Carpenter, actually, y'all probably heard her on the news, but a little controversial, but they offer a lot for parents. Literacy Mid-South. I can't pronounce it. Let me let her say the rest of it. But I do know about the Memphis Lift. They're very active in the community. North Memphis.
The Nouveau Center, the Excellence Center of Memphis, there are several adult literacy organizations dedicated to adult literacy.
Okay. Okay, can you see me also afterwards so I can jot that down? You're like, dang, I gotta keep seeing him. Dang, let me stop talking. No. Yes, ma'am.
I guess when we're talking about resources, I want to make sure to lift up the collective blueprint. So if you have a young adult who is between the ages of 18 and 29, and they have just failed to launch, they need technical training, they actually, the collective blueprint will actually provide them with schooling, whether it's HVAC, and so it's many of those technical skills that we were talking about. HVAC, they have a CNA program now, they have a computer coding program, and the like. And so they actually will give them a stipend of $450 a month while they are trying to get their training. They also provide those life skills that we were just talking about. It is a fabulous program. It's a program that I consult with, and so it is free. And it is absolutely free. So if you have, again, 18 to 29, they have to fill out an application, and they do a light interview, but it is a phenomenal program, and most of the people who fully complete the program are making right at $50,000 when they get ready to start working.
All right, you said the collective blueprint? Collective blueprint. Okay, got it. Okay, Titus 3, 1 through 11 talks about us being subject to rulers and authorities to obey and to be ready for good work, right? To speak evil of no one, to be peaceable, gentle, showing all humility to all men. We are in such troubling times, but I never want you to forget that you still have your dignity, you still have your name, and you still represent a good God, and you walk out there representing him to the fullest. Don't be indignant. Be mad. Use your power, but please don't be indignant, all right? I recognize that, we're in unique times, and it requires us to be really unique in how we respond, but make sure that you're doing so in a way that's still very representative of the God you serve and the name that you hope to keep clean and well represented in front of others. So keep that in mind. Micah 6 and 8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. Again, it's all about making sure that as you're going out seeking justice and advocating for disenfranchised, marginalized people, that you're always operating from a place of godliness. And that we're not out here being these, real hyped up vigilantes that are going for blood. That's just not how we want you to go out there into the world. And then this last one, Isaiah 1 and 17. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. And I think this is really representative of the conversation that we've had today. Defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Again, the dialogue we've had today is actually representative of that, because we've gotten so many different ideas sparked by what needs are out there, what resources out there, what types of resources we need to beef up, what type of resources we need to find. And I think that as long as we're continuing to have a conversation about these topics, that we're going to get there. Don't let it stay here. Take it and spread it out. This is not fake. We're not going to gatekeep this information at First Baptist Broad. We're going to take it and spread it out to the community all over the place, all right? Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you, Miss Kiana. Yay! All right, and we look forward to the next Broad Exchange. Y'all have a good time. at the next service if that's where you're going, and we'll see you next time.